Welcome back to America Tonight. Joining us now is Chris Lewis. He's a former sports agent, contract advisor with the NFL Players Association, a member of the Sports Lawyers Association. And, you know, we look at what's happening with Johnny Manziel and the fact that we're going to see Johnny Manziel back in a courtroom, or actually appearing in a Dallas courtroom for the first time since he was indicted for allegedly beating up his ex-girlfriend. This is a huge story that even transcends sports. So, Chris, first, thanks for coming on the show. And, you know, you look at Johnny Manziel and everything that's happened. I wonder a couple of things. One, what could happen to him here criminally, depending on what they decide on Thursday?
Well, Thursday. So what's happening is we all know that he's been indicted by a grand jury on a misdemeanor assault family violence charge. There's been a warrant that's been issued for his arrest, and so what he's going to do is he's just going to appear in Judge Conyus's court here in Dallas on Thursday. He's going to be given conditions of bond, and then his case will essentially be reset. It's normal for the cases to have several non-dispositive settings before the lawyers and the defendants decide whether or not there's going to be a plea agreement or if this case is going to proceed to trial.
All right, so then if it proceeds to trial, obviously it's a whole different ballgame. Do you think it's going to proceed?
You know, these cases are very difficult to prove. I think the reason why it went to the grand jury is because the police had a bunch of questions, and they were going to leave it to the grand jury to make the decision. I don't know if I think maybe there were some tactical errors that were made by his defense team at the grand jury stage, but I'm not going to sit here and play Monday morning quarterback. I'll just leave it at this. It's a misdemeanor case if the complaining witness, his ex-girlfriend, is uncooperative or does not want to pursue charges, then it takes a case that may be very difficult to prove and makes it almost impossible to prove. So, you know, if I were his attorney, I would probably start setting this case up as if it were going to go to trial. I would hold the state to its burden. And I think this case, even though it's generated a lot of negative publicity, and rightfully so for Johnny Manziel, I don't think this is a case where he's going to ultimately be found guilty.
So if that happens, then the question becomes, as someone who covers sports, we're just a couple of months really away, if you think about it, from 80, 90 days from camp. Will any NFL team invite him to camp, you think, this summer?
I don't think so. You know, even though, first of all, unless things are expedited, I don't see his case being resolved in that time frame. That would be a very, very quick resolution. Essentially, what would have to happen is Colleen Crowley would have to file a affidavit of non-prosecution. All that is an affidavit where she's swearing that she doesn't want the case to proceed. But still, the state has the right to proceed, even though it's not what she desires to do. Still, with that being said, there are so many negative things that have happened in his personal life that may not have risen to the level of criminal, but undoubtedly violate the National Football League's conduct policies, which don't necessarily fall in line with criminal law. So I don't think I think he's had such negative hits on his reputation. I don't see an NFL team willing to take a chance on him. I think what they want to see from him is they want to see a pattern of making good decisions and a person who's taking care of his personal business off the field.
So if he turns it around, theoretically, he's still young enough. Maybe in a couple of years he could find himself in a situation where someone looks at him?
Yeah, but, we just had the NFL draft. So what you've got to think about, I don't know how many quarterbacks were drafted, probably somewhere between 8 and 10. So every year that he sits out, you've got a new crop of talent that comes in. So it's going to be, and he wasn't a starter for most of the year. Johnny Manziel still has not proven himself to be a consistent, capable NFL quarterback. So I think what we're dealing with is, number one, he's got at least a year where he can focus on himself, making good decisions, If he's got substance abuse problems, addressing those. And then I think after a year, there might be one or two NFL teams that are willing to bring him in and say, hey, maybe we've got the new Johnny Manziel. Maybe we finally can see somebody who's going to realize his potential. He would be great for a team if he's got his personal life figured out. Remember, not only was he good on the field, maybe not yet proven in the NFL, but he was a marketing machine.
Yeah.
So he was able to make a lot of money for clubs, but now he's been dropped by Nike. He's been dropped by a couple of agents, and maybe this is what he needs, is to hit rock bottom before he can start coming back up.
As somebody who is a sports agent, are these stories that you would you caution your clients about what happens a lot of times to players, especially when they're young? They get caught up in everything, and it's a lot to deal with. They have an entourage of people. Everybody's pulling at them. What did you advise your clients?
Well, just what you said. Now, in a lot of situations, you got clients that come from nothing. They have no money whatsoever, and they're instant millionaires. And, they've got an entourage, or they've got people that are constantly wanting something from them, and they have a career. And a lot of times the NFL career is only 4 or 5 years, and they finish this career, and they've got nothing to show for it. So that's one type of advising. As far as Johnny's concerned, Johnny came from a very affluent family. He had money. He never wanted for anything. His issues are a little bit different. And I guess the message to people who are in Johnny's situation is that fame is fleeting, and you need to take care of your business. You need to focus on what's important, and you've been given an opportunity to play a game for a living and make a lot of money doing it. And respect that opportunity that you've been given. We even see what's happened with his parents. His dad came out. And his dad's not a wingnut. I mean, he's a normal guy, but his dad comes out and he says, I'm concerned about my son. I'm concerned that if he doesn't get things right, he won't live to see his 24th birthday. And that's big for a parent to come out and say that. And you see all these people that have been very close to him that they've started falling by the wayside. So at this point in time, it's all on Johnny. Johnny's got to do the things necessary, not only to put his career back together, but more importantly, to put his life back together.
Yeah, and with this with what happened here with the domestic charges, the NFL now, because of the Ray Rice situation and several others, they've really had to step up on this, haven't they?
Well, they have. So, the Ray Rice, and what it's one thing to hear about it, but when you see that video of the Ray Rice incident, and I mean, it's just chilling, and to know how that was initially handled by the NFL, and then the Greg Hardy situation, once the pictures became, or once the NFL became privy to the actual physical evidence associated in that case, that blew up. Johnny Manziel, although we haven't seen any of this stuff, some of the reports we're hearing was this sounds like a fairly violent assault. Now, in Texas, what he's charged with is a misdemeanor, which means that he assaulted her and it caused pain. If it would have been something that caused serious bodily injury, then that would have been elevated up to a felony. It wasn't, but yeah, the NFL has gotten a lot more serious, and rightfully so, about these domestic abuse allegations, and it doesn't take a conviction now, because what we've seen is sometimes things work out even though the incident actually occurred. And I think that's what the NFL is trying to focus on, is we're going to make a statement. We don't care if you're convicted or not. What we care about is making a statement, and the statement is that domestic violence won't be tolerated.
Yeah, and in your situation where, again, your ties to the NFL and whatnot, and having been a sports agent, boy, I'll tell you what, now more than ever, you need a lawyer in your corner, don't you, when you're a player? Because between testing and navigating the way, I think I really do, but I do come from a family of lawyers, I think you need a lawyer to help you navigate it.
Yeah, you do. I mean, not only with the financial things, but if you just think about the criminal thing, because for as many true allegations that there are that criminal conduct arises, there's just as many false allegations. And when you have these individuals, so you're talking about young men, 21 to 30 years old, and big majority of them in their early 20s. These are kids who have a lot of money. They're going to be targets for a lot of people. They're going to be targets for people that want them to invest money in unscrupulous endeavors. You're going to have girls that are targeting these people. So not only do you want to advise them, and you want them to have advice, listen, make good decisions and know that you're under a microscope, but also advising them, hey, there's certain people that you need to stay away from. Not everybody has your best in mind. So sometimes that's a hard lesson. We see with Johnny Manziel, it's very difficult, but sometimes that's a hard lesson for 21, 22, 23-year-old kids to learn.
Yeah, absolutely. Chris Lewis, defense attorney and former sports agent, thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks for your time.